Hello, and welcome to the Surging Forward broadcast, where we're helping you to have a positive view in a negative world. My name is David Valentine, and I'm here to help you see the value in the job you do and how you can keep surging forward. Okay, well, hello, and welcome to the Surging Forward podcast. I've got a cool thing that's going to be going on today. I'm actually recording this show in Facebook Live, and of course, you'll see all the little flub ups and some of the mistakes if you're actually watching it on Facebook Live. The cool thing about it is I'm going to be able to hopefully answer some questions as we go along and talk for those that might join us in the middle of the show. So it's kind of an interesting, different way that I'm looking at doing the podcast. But one of the things we're going to be talking about today is dealing with authority and inspectors. So if this is your first time listening or your first time hearing the podcast, I want to welcome you and as a Surging Forward member. And also, hopefully you're going to get a little bit out of this because we're here to create a positive view in a negative world. So it's kind of a fun thing that we do to kind of help people to be able to get out and, make a difference in the world and also to help you and better your career. So I want to thank you if you're a new listener, and hopefully you might get a little bit out of the show and you can pass it along to somebody else. So again, I'm kind of looking forward to this. We've never done a Facebook Live, so you're going to kind of see some of the mess ups that we do as we actually recording the show. Now the show itself is still going to come out Monday, like it usually does when it comes out on iTunes and Stitcher and all the big podcast apps. And if you don't know what a podcast is and you happen to be watching this on Facebook Live, well, we have a YouTube video that shows how to set up a podcast app on your phone. So kind of cool there. So we're going to be editing everything out of this, but of course the Facebook is going to be kind of raw and you won't have all the editing there. So today we're going to be talking about dealing with authority and also inspectors. So those of you in the trades really want to stay tuned for that, because this is what's going to be kind of where I'm hoping some of the questions will pop in. I hope I'll see them on my phone. Like I say, I see a couple people listening and a few people out there listening to it live. And so when you start having a question on some of the things I'm talking about, I'm going to address these actually live. Now, one of the things I want to do, and this is the really cool part, couple cool things coming up with Surging Forward before we get started here. The first thing is I'm actually probably about a little more than halfway done with writing the new code calculation circuit, calculating branch circuits code course. So this is something we're looking at getting out for tradesmen. Basically going to demystify all the stuff about how to do code update courses. Now you take that back. It's not code update courses. It's actually code calculations for your code update so that you can learn and take out that mystery about doing code calculations. So I'm going to be walking you right through how to do branch circuits, and then part 2 will come out later on, and that'll be on for services and feeders. But you got to have the basics before you can do the big stuff. So everybody looks for that golden gun for doing code calculations. Well, there's not any. So didn't want to scare anybody on that. There is not any real big golden gun. But I'm going to be walking you right through that. So look forward to that course coming out. Another thing that has happened, I haven't been talking about it a lot. I work on a lot of different projects outside of teaching the apprenticeship, my full-time job, and writing code courses, the podcast, and also teaching, abroad. A couple other things I work on in my spare time. But I was really privileged. An author hooked up with, where I'm in another group in Facebook that helps a lot of us out who are mentors and motivational speakers, different things like that. And they helped us out. And I'm really excited to say I am actually now a co-author of my first book. I know it comes out backwards on the Facebook page, but you can't beat the Eagles there. I love the Eagle. Those of you that know me, I love Eagles, and it's really awesome. And the book is called Time to Fly. And it's a daily inspiration book. It just kind of gives a day-to-day inspiration from a lot of different people on just inspiration to help your life better and help you do a better job. So hopefully you might be able to check that out and see if, you can check it out on the Facebook, on surgingforward.com. We have a special site for books. And if there's any special books that you would like to have me feature up there, now that I'm associated with Amazon, I can offer the books maybe for a little bit cheaper than what you usually get. So let me know if there's any special books that you would like to see out there. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to get into our subject here. And as I said before, dealing with authority and inspectors. When we talk about dealing with inspectors, it's one of those things, or dealing with those in authority, it's not something that we always like to do. When we're dealing with those in authority, sometimes we feel already off the base intimidated. Or you feel like, wow, I don't even know where to go with this, or I feel like they're going to be out to get me. Well, that's not always the case. So when we're dealing with those in authority, we need to show them some kind of respect. You don't have to like or respect the person, but we still have to know how to deal with that inspector on the job sites. Where you may disagree with something and they're requiring you to fix something. You may not always agree with that, but you still have to, follow up and abide by it. You still have to, make sure you have a certain amount of respect for that person. So how do we deal with those kind of people that we don't like? I don't even like this person that's coming and inspect my job. I don't even like this person that's an authority on us. Well, granted, many times those of us in authority, they're going to tell us to do things that are going to cost you time, money, or worse yet, they might even cost you to be embarrassed because they called you out in public about a job you were doing. And so how do you deal with those kind of people? How do you deal with, that person or even the inspector? You've got to have his approval to pass your work before you can move on. You've got to have, you've got to do something here because he's the one that's approving everything. Or many times, you got this issue that's going on right now, whether it's a person in authority at work or an inspector. A lot of times the battle can escalate and it can turn into a verbal, or even sometimes it can get physical. The first thing we all need to remember is that everyone has a boss. Yeah, that's it. Everyone has a boss, my friends. All of us do. We all have somebody that we have to report to and account to. Now, I've heard some of you say, well, I work on my own and I have no boss. Well, I beg to differ with you. First of all, your client and your customer is the one that is your boss. They may choose not to pay you because they don't feel like that you did the work according to what was agreed upon. That happens all the time. I'm an electrical consultant and inspector myself. And I have to answer to the client when something that the contractor installed incorrectly. So they might come back on me and say, hey, well, why did you allow that to be installed like that? Bottom line is that none of us like to be corrected or called out and are told that we've done something wrong or we get embarrassed, and we don't like to get talked down to. That's just common sense. But as you've heard me state in previous podcasts or been in one of my classes that are good, there's good bosses and there's bad bosses. Same thing with inspectors. There are good inspectors and there's bad inspectors. How you react to each is a choice that you make. Never let a bad inspector or a bad leader force you to make a bad decision. You see, once that happens, that person may not be a good leader or authority figure at all. But now, once you've made a bad decision, they have control of you, and they can control how you're going to act. You may say, no way, I just left, or I refuse to talk to so-and-so and so-and-so, and I'm not going to do what he tells me to do. Well, the real question, Has this helped you, or have you simply given more control of that person over your life? Now you have to fight the battle to get the inspection approved, when it could have been a simple fix. Yeah, you don't like the guy. The guy just always picking and nitpicking every little thing, or, he has a chip on his shoulder and everything else. But there's a way to deal with that. You see, my friends, you don't have to like the person that's in authority. It's not like you have to, I always hear it on Facebook, the pages, you got to kiss their butt and this and this and this. No, that is not the case. You see, you respect the position. You don't always have to respect the person. People have to earn respect. So if you really want to be a better person or a better leader, like I've always said before, you can learn more from the bad leaders, or in this case, bad inspectors, in regards to how you should deal with those in authority than you can from the good. I've also heard people say, well, I just hate that inspector, and I have no respect for that inspector at all. Every time he comes on my site, he's confrontational. My whole day's messed up. And again, you're allowing somebody else that you're forced to interact with influence the actions and ruin your day. Why would you do that? Now let's talk about that for a minute. Whether a person's in authority, whether he's your boss, an inspector, or even an instructor for that matter, trust me, I've seen things go crazy in the classroom, and I've heard some stories from some other instructors. It can get pretty hairy. We just had an interesting one. One of the fellow instructors teaching an OSHA class, and got a little crazy. Some of the students got totally out of hand, and it happens. I've seen some crazy stuff in a classroom as I've taught, where things seem to be fine, and all of a sudden I get a student that's just totally gone crazy. I don't understand. Maybe he had a bad day himself, but so things do get crazy. But that person that's in authority deserves your respect. A simple answer is that, yes, they're in that position, and they're there to give you directions on a task, provide you with information, or to simply pass or fail your installation. You see, they're responsible for, maybe keeping you safe on the job, or teaching you a similar duty for, learning how to do something in that particular task. So again, you need to respect the position, not necessarily the person. Just like anything else, people have to earn your respect. When I teach my class, I try my best to earn the respect of the students that I'm teaching. I can't demand respect from anybody. Now, my position gives a little bit of that respect, but I can't demand it from anybody. So, when I provide that information to people, I try to portray it in such a way to where I'm being respectful to that person. But I also don't allow my situations to get out of control just because I don't like a particular student in my class, or because I don't like a particular person that I'm doing an inspection for. The same thing for you when you're dealing with an inspector, or when you're dealing with a person in authority. You don't necessarily have to let that situation escalate out of control. You see, if you do let that happen, then you're no better than the person that you don't like. If you let it get all bad and it gets into that confrontation, you're the same as that person that you're getting into a confrontation with. So you're not much different. You see, when I say to respect a position, it simply means to allow that person that may not have a very good way of dealing with people themselves a little more room to save face. Now, again, I haven't seen any of the comments come up or, on the post here yet, but this is where it gets kind of critical. Why should I give a person that I don't like room to save face? You see, all of us have a need to feel important. Yes, all of us. Even the person in authority, even the person you don't like, even the inspector, the instructor, teacher, whatever the case may be. Everybody has a need to feel important. I talked about this back in episode number 63, and it was basically entitled The Need to Feel Important. And that's an episode I did a while back. So, how do you deal with these people who are giving you a hard time? The first thing you can do is to diffuse the situation simply by not making it out bigger than what it is. And most of all, you can be a listener instead of a reactor. You see, if that person is asking you to do something, you need to ask yourself a couple questions if you don't like what he's telling you. If it does not put you in an unsafe condition, if it's not making you do something morally wrong, if it's not hurting you or your family physically, or if it's not going to ruin your reputation in a bad way, then don't take that stress from that person in authority. Maybe he's carrying something bad in his life. Don't let him put that heavy load on you. Just break down and do what needs to be done to satisfy the situation and move on. None of those four things are hurting you. So he's not making a difference. You see, dealing with people can be a tough thing to do because everyone has a different opinion on everything. But it's not up to us to force someone to make a choice to do something that they don't want to do. Now, if you're asking for me to go against any of those above, there's ways to diffuse that also. One of the ways is to simply agree to disagree. For example, if I'm the inspector on the job site and, I come up and I tell you to do something that's unsafe or that it's going to cost you a lot of money, that, it's not the right thing to do. You can basically agree to disagree with me and, move on. But, you have a couple options that you can do. You don't have to lose your cool with me as the inspector. You can just kind of state the fact and say, hey, I feel this is this during code, and this is how I understand the code. If you have a different perspective, please let me know. And I have to either say yay or nay. I can't just give you my opinion and say this is how I want it done. I have to have something to back it also as an inspector. So I can't make you do anything just because I don't like you or I don't like your work. I have a certain set of guidelines I have to go by also. So basically, you give them the benefit of the doubt, but you let them know, hey, I don't really understand why you're making me do this. So then after he leaves or whatever the case may be, or the person in authority is telling you to do something that's against those four values I talked about, then you could take measures to bring the issue to someone above them. You can explain, hey, why you don't feel that you have to complete whatever the task may be based on the reasons stated above or the code's not telling me I have to do that. My friend, the biggest thing is you don't want to lose your cool over that one incident. You see, it's not worth it. It's not worth the time or the headaches to lose your cool. We all make our own choices. And sometimes, due to someone else's actions, we allow somebody else to make the choice for us by losing control. You see, if someone else can cause you to feel bad and they can get you ticked off, then, believe it or not, they're actually in control of you. So, the bad part about it, you're going to be one to pay the consequences. A couple things going to happen here. If you get out of control with an inspector, you're not going to get your job passed. You're going to jump through all kind of hoops on, what you're going to have to do to take care of it. It's going to waste a lot of your time. If you lose control of a job at your boss, well, you're going to have to suffer the consequences. You could get fired. Well, you might not want to work there anyway, but you don't have anything else lined up. So now you're not going to have any money. You're not going to have a job. So, again, it's not like sucking it up and saying, okay, I got to handle it. I don't like this guy. No, there's ways to handle it. And, the way to the way to handle it is say, hey, just agree to disagree and say, why is it that I have to do this? And you could show things in a code, or even if it's your boss telling you to do something, say, hey, it disagrees with one of those four things. I don't think this is safe to do. Or I don't feel comfortable lying about a particular prospect on this particular job. I don't feel comfortable lying in this case. I don't want to lie. Or, hey, this is going to make me look bad and kind of ruin my reputation. So again, you have to agree to disagree. You might have to take it to HR, but there's ways to deal with it. You don't want to be the one to lose control. And that's my whole point of this podcast. Whether you're dealing with an inspector, whether you're dealing with a homeowner, whether you're dealing with a person in authority, your boss, or anybody really in that manner. So, especially on your job site, you can have a confrontation today, and it can affect a promotion that you may have never known you were going to get. Maybe your boss happened to be watching you, and he pulled up on his truck on the job site, and all of a sudden you're having this confrontation with a guy on the job site, and he was just getting ready to tell you you're getting a promotion. Well, guess what? You're never going to hear about it. You're never even going to know you are going to get a promotion, because all he's going to know is what he saw, and it's going to look bad on you. You see, you can only make choices based on what you do. Don't let other people force you into a bad situation that you really didn't want to be in the first place. See, that's part of what a lot of this negative stuff does, because when people are in a pissed off mood, or they're just aggravated, or they hate life, they love to suck as many people as they can down that rabbit hole. That's part of what gives them fuel to the fire as they continue in their negative world. So, there's a lot of people out there that look happy and they're really not. A lot of people out there, it looks like they have it made and they really don't. So, my friends, the whole biggest thing and the whole thing what I try to portray as a message, notice my slogan, creating a positive view in a negative world. You see, we're not out to change the world. I'm here to try to help one person at a time. And only I can make the choice about my life. And only you can make the choice about your life. And it doesn't mean we're always happy. Life doesn't have going on. We have a lot of things go wrong. I have a lot of issues. And I want to leave you with one more story before I wrap up. And I learned this attitude about dealing with inspectors and those in authority a hard way a long time ago. You see, back in the day, back in the early 90s, actually the later 80s, I had my own contracting business. And I worked up in the Chicago, Illinois area. And what happened, up there you had to have permits. And the way they pulled the inspections, you had to have a license like in all the different little suburbs, all these little licenses. Well, what ended up happening is I was working in a particular area up there. And it was up in the Downers Grove area. I'll never forget this. And I'm on a job site, and it was just a simple thing. And the inspector came out. And I was just a young guy again, full of fire. And I forgot what he even failed me for. But he failed me, my inspection, for a simple thing. And here's the kicker, guys. It was a simple fix. All I would have had to do is, take a couple tools out of my tool pouch, readjust a couple things, and I could have done it right in front of him. But no, I argued with him about code, because here's the kicker. I had just gotten my Chicago contractor's license. So, of course, I thought I knew everything there was to know about the code. I am the ace of the ace of the ace, and I know everything. So I challenged that man. And we had a little battle. Matter of fact, on top of that, I ended up going to his boss and telling his boss what kind of a jerk he was. So as I tell the guy how much of a jerk the guy is, hey, I won the battle. I got my job approved. It was a simple fix, mind you. Well, guess what? Every time I went to that job again, that inspector would fail me for every little thing that was against code. Because you know what? I made him look very, very bad. But he ruined my chances of working in that one little town, that suburb there. And it got to the point to where I couldn't even do work in those suburbs because I had to make sure all my work was always exactly perfect. I mean, the guy would hit me up on some of the craziest stuff sometimes. So, what do you do? And I get a couple guys that say, yeah, bring in the cameras. That's a cool one. But my friends, back then, we didn't have the cameras. But, yeah, that's really cool. You could bring in the camera and you could film it. But does it really do a difference to ruin somebody else and make them mad? Because again, like I said before, you don't know what was going on in their lifestyle. You don't know what was going on behind the scenes for them. So what I'm saying, a lot of times it's better to agree to disagree. And over the years, I have found that some of my worst enemies, some of the bosses that I didn't get along with the worst, ended up becoming some of my best of friends. And some of my greatest mentors. Because, you see, when one person reacts bad, and the other person reacts good, and is better than that person reacted bad, a lot of times you can develop a friendship. But if one person reacts bad, and the other person reacts bad, a lot of times the whole situation ends up bad. And now you have a lot of bad things going down the road all the time. So, keep that in mind. So you can help create a positive situation just by diffusing a negative situation. So again, guys, thanks for some of the comments. And again, I like the one about bringing them on camera. I want to thank you again for taking the time here. I'm going to go back and look at this video and see how it actually came out. Should be quite interesting. I'm going to go ahead and still post it on the Surging Forward page on Facebook. And I want to thank you for the time. And those of you that are watching it later, hey, let me know. Give me a comment. Maybe I'll do this again. It was a lot to set up. When I first set this up, I wasn't sure. And I kind of had to do my podcast a little bit different here. But should come out pretty cool. It ran a little bit longer. Well, no, actually about the same time. But I'm looking forward to a lot of new things for 2018 to try to give you guys some cool stuff. And again, if you get a chance, check out the book. I'm really excited about this book. Again, I was a co-author of this book. A lot of cool. I love the eagle symbol here. You can find it on the Surging Forward Facebook page. Along with, I've got a couple other cool things too. I've got the code book up there now. I'm going to be putting some of Mike Holt's books up there. So if you're interested in those, check out the surgingforward.com website. Check us out on Facebook. We're real close to, I think I'm at 475 likes now on Facebook. That's pretty awesome. I think that's a hoot, considering that, a couple years ago, I didn't even know what half this stuff was. So I really appreciate everyone's support out there. And if you have something that you need me to talk about on this podcast, shoot me an email. Direct message me. Check me out on Facebook. I pretty much friend most anybody that listens to my podcast here. Unless you're really a strange weirdo. I get a lot of those too. But with all due respect, that's fine. Most of the guys are tradesmen or people in the contracting world. Love to help you answer your questions if you have anything. And my whole entire goal is to continue to help you to keep surging forward. Hey, stay safe, my friends, and keep surging forward. And hey, special thanks to Dan Hark. I saw him on here, and I want to thank him. He gave me a nice little cool logo. That one you guys see on Facebook, that came from Dan. I really want to thank him from that. That was awesome, and it was kind of a present he gave me. Next week is my birthday. Actually, it's my wife and I both's birthday. We have birthday on the same day. So that's kind of awesome. And let's see. I got a guy who actually, let me answer this last question here. Needs to be understood by the inspector or the design is not code compliant. Good. Write down everything for the scope. That's a good one. Write down everything for the designer and build a reputation. That is really cool. Thanks, Norris Harrington. I appreciate that. Fantastic comment that he put in there. But as I'm signing off here, I want to thank you. Like I said, I may get the podcast out a little bit late next week. Hopefully I'll get it up on time because it is my wife and I both. It's both of our birthdays. We share the same birthday, January 21st. And as Dan had taught me, this is actually my 34th, 21st birthday. So you guys can do the math and figure it out. My 34th, 21st birthday. So I'm pretty excited about that. Hey guys, take it easy. Stay safe and keep surging forward. Hey, you guys have a great week and God bless. And again, love and see. Hey, Alan, good to see you on there. I see you just signed up on there. You guys have a great one. And again, the podcast will be out on Monday at the normal time. Thanks for tuning into the show. You guys have a great day and take care of those inspector guys out there and those in authority. They're just doing their jobs just like you are. Take care, my friends. Be safe.